Hi guys! So I'm back again for another Bound Planner review, but this one is a bit different. This one is the top-down planner. Like a lot of people, I think, I first found out about this from an interview that Miss Vicky B did with the creator of the top-down planner, Rebecca Riscati, which I'll link down below. And this is not just your ordinary planner, I guess you could say, in that it's, as the name suggests, a top-down planner, in that it's kind of designed to make you really think about your goals and what you want to achieve rather than just give you space for scheduling. So I was intrigued by this. I really liked the interview. I thought that there were a lot of interesting points about planning and productivity discussed in it, and I was intrigued by the format because I've never tried anything like this. And so I decided to get it, not for myself because I'm very happy with my setup with the Hobonichi for work, but for James because he is self-employed. He has a couple of different Etsy shops and he also sells his designs on tote bags on Amazon. And I feel like if you're self-employed, I mean, not only if you're self-employed, but that is an area where it can be really difficult sometimes to keep track of your goals, and that something like this could be a really useful productivity tool. So it was a very long wait. The interview came out, I think, in late summer, early autumn, and there are two versions of this planner. There's a dated version and an undated version, and the dated version for 2016 was supposed to start shipping sometime in November. So I ordered it, I pre-ordered it. And then obviously I ordered it, I think, at the end of September. So there was already a wait of a couple of months. And then there was quite a big delay, so that they only started shipping out in like kind of mid-December. Then with mine, there was like an even stranger thing happened. I got the message saying that it had been shipped, and then a few days later, I got an email saying that there'd been a mistake and that the color that I'd ordered actually wasn't available anymore. And so they were giving me a refund, and I kind of thought that was the end of it. But then they said that they would give me a free planner of a different color, which was fantastic. That was really, really nice of them. And so they sent me this, and I got this for free. So by the time I got it, it was kind of near, I think it was around like maybe the 22nd or the 23rd of December. And this planner actually starts at the beginning of December, which is a nice feature. So I've had it kind of, we couldn't start using it straight away, but we've had a bit of time to experiment with it. So I'll just tell you all of my impressions that James and I have both had of it so far. So the first thing that you see about it is obviously it's a bound planner. But I don't know if I can describe this very well, but it doesn't feel very plannery to me. So just in terms of the way it looks and the way it feels, if you compare it to other bound planners, it feels like a book, but not even like a sort of normal paperback. It feels more like, I don't want to say like a phone book, but it feels like some sort of directory that you would get, or like maybe a conference program. That's the sort of thing that I have in mind. I don't know if that's adequately explaining it, but it's softback. There was, in the interview, Rebecca mentioned that they were going to be hardback for this year, but that wasn't an option. So I don't know if that's going to be coming out in 2017. But the 2016 ones and the undated ones, as far as I know, are all softback. So it's got this cover, which is kind of, it has like an almost, not quite sticky, but like it has a very particular texture, which is not like any other softback cover that I've really can think of. Like I said, the closest thing I can think of is if you I go to conferences, so that's the thing that springs to mind. There might be something else that's like this, but like a kind of like big pamphlet that's bound, but the cover is like kind of, it's like glossy paper on the inside, but it's not, it's kind of like halfway between matte and glossy on the outside, if that makes any sense. And this is what it looks like. I guess this is another thing that kind of makes it feel not very plannery, is, you know, if you compare it to, like, say, another soft bound planner that like this Muji planner, which has a kind of thicker sort of cardstock cover, or something like a Moleskine softback where it's a kind of sort of like leather look kind of cover. It's not like that. Anyway, that's the cover. And straight away, I think the first thing that I noticed is it claims to be lay flat binding, but it's just not. So if you open it, I mean, pretty much anywhere you open it to, like there's just no way, even if you kind of, like if you sort of press it down a lot, then it will kind of do that, which to my mind, it's not really laying flat. That does kind of, if you press it, it lays down flat somehow, to some extent. But if you just open it, it does that. Compared to, say, my Hobonichi, this lays flat. Or even this Leuchtturm, that lays pretty flat. This Moleskine, that lays pretty flat. This does not lay flat. So that's kind of a disappointment, because if you see it described on the website as lay flat and it's just so totally not lay flat, that's kind of annoying. You know, I think for us, like kind of stationery and planner junkies, this is what the binding looks like. It's kind of, you can see that the binding sort of comes away from the spine. The Sassy Pineapple has a review. She has one of the only other reviews of this planner out there, which I'll link below, and she does a much better job of explaining how this binding works. So if you want more details about the binding, watch her review. You should watch her review anyway, because it's really good. But that's the story with the binding. Then when you open it, it has this like kind of glossy sheet that has a quote from Rebecca Riscati: "Plan your success, not your week." Okay, and then you go into the first page, and this is another thing that somehow is different than what I was expecting. I kind of had the impression that it was quite like sort of thick, nice quality paper, and the paper, the feeling of it is not like what I was expecting. Like again, it sort of feels to me like the sort of paper that you'd get on, I just keep thinking, conference program. It doesn't. I'm not really that happy with the paper, and I'll talk more about the paper because there's another issue with it, which is actually more serious. But it's not at all like say any of the other bound planners that I can think of, you know, like Moleskine, Leuchtturm, Paper Blanks, Muji, again, like kind of the major ones that I'm familiar with. It's not like any of those. It's more like, again, like it's like a kind of feels like promotional materials. I think this is what I have in mind. I hope that this is making sense. But that's just an aesthetic thing, and it was kind of a disappointment to me, because I was expecting, I think, it to look nicer on the aesthetics, and sometimes you can't really tell on the video. So that's just that doesn't have anything to do with the functionality of it. It's just something that is kind of an issue for me, I think, because that's part of the whole experience. So there's some information again from Rebecca Riscati about like kind of why she designed the planner and her technique and how it's different from other planners. And the point is that if you use this technique, the sort of the planning system that's in this, that you will focus on your goals and then sort of be able to work to achieve your goals, rather than just writing down your to-dos and your appointments kind of randomly without any structure, and that it will be much easier for you to achieve your goals. And I think that, to me, after sort of having worked with this a little bit, I feel like that is actually that is true, as in I feel like this is more of almost like a workbook rather than a planner. Like this doesn't speak to me as a sort of just normal everyday planner. It's more like something that you'd use with specific goals in mind to like kind of really crystallize how you want to achieve them. So it's got like 3 main sections, and each one is introduced by a kind of like almost like a divider, which is made out of a thick cardstock, if you can hear that. So the first one is goal planning, and it's got this like kind of introduction, which again, she sort of explains, sort of her way of thinking about how you sort of often push aside your big aspirations in favor of finishing your daily to-do list, and then you never feel like you're moving forward. And so in order to counter that, she's got this kind of group of like thought exercises. So the first one is, who are you? And it's got these two things. It's got these boxes where it asks you a few questions. I feel like myself when I X. I enjoy myself when I X. I know I want to X. And finally, so you've got a box to write in each of them, and these boxes are unlined. And I think that can be quite a good exercise. I don't know. I always find it really difficult to fill in things like this. So I think depending on your personality type, you might find this more or less helpful. But James was kind of also like me. It just felt a bit overwhelming. But I think that it could really be good. Like if you're sort of not clear about or feeling like maybe you're not very satisfied, this can kind of help pinpoint why and like what would make you happier. And then on the right, it has this list of values, a whole bunch of values ranging from respect, teaching, optimism, to community, creativity, adventure, health, and fitness. And you're supposed to circle the ones that are most important to you. So it could be that I'm just being thick here, but James and I were both kind of puzzled by this because I guess it's just more of a thought exercise. It's meant to be open-ended rather than something that will lead directly onto something else, because it doesn't really tell you what to do with this. As in, I guess you're supposed to, I don't know, if you circle philanthropy or something, then it's supposed to make you think that you want to be devoting some time to philanthropy, for example. But I wasn't really sure how to take the values on here and apply them. So that is probably just my problem. But this felt somehow a bit too open for me. But I'm sure that for somebody else, it could be fine, or it could be useful. Then the next page was one of the things that initially attracted us to this planner. It's what is your future? And it asks you this series of questions. Where do you live? What do you do? How many hours do you work? Where do you stand financially? How do you spend personal time, etc.? And it asks you to fill it in for 1 year, 3 years, 10 years, and a lifetime from now. So this is like really, really big picture. What do you want to do with your life? And again, when James and I tried to do this together, we both felt it was a bit overwhelming, although that we agreed that it's a good thing to do, but it just kind of felt a bit daunting for us in the moment. But we really like the idea of it. And you're only supposed to take 15 minutes to do it. So it's not supposed to be something that you like, really kind of ponder and soul search. And you're just, I think, supposed to, kind of map out this general idea of your life, which then is supposed to feed into what you do after that, because depending on what you say here, you're supposed to have this as a reference so that you can go back and, kind of like review the answers and decide that you want to achieve some of these goals. So it says, like, after you've filled this in, circle the 3 most important answers to you and act on them, which I think is really good, because it could be that, I don't know, you're thinking, I want to live in the country, but that's like a far off dream and I'm never going to be able to do it. And so if you put down here that you'd like to be living in the country within 10 years, I say that because I grew up in the country and I miss it because now I live in London. Then, maybe you should try to focus on making that a reality. So I think that is a really powerful tool, that you might be so busy with your daily life that you don't ever actually think about these things. And then this is where it really started to get useful for us on a practical level, is it has these few pages of goal planning. So like 5 pages called Goal Planner. So it says, here's your chance to realize your future. Choose one personal or work-related goal to work on first, and then plan more goals on the subsequent pages as they arise. So obviously we didn't do this properly because we didn't fill this in, but we just took one goal for James that he wants to work on, which is to make one of his businesses a success. So he has, at the moment it's only on Etsy. He has an Etsy shop that sells different vegan designs, mostly on tote bags, but he also has badges and he wants to bring in stickers. So it says, what's the goal? So he said, make vegan business a success. And then it says description. So he's written, bring vegan business to the point where it's sustainable, profitable, ethical, and fun for me. Why do you want to do this? Financial independence, spreading vegan message, creative outlet. After accomplishing this goal, you will feel, and he's written extremely smug and satisfied. And then it says, this goal fills your following core values. We didn't do that because we didn't fill in the core values. But I guess that's how it links back, is that if you've said that you have a core value of, I don't know, serving your community or financial independence or whatever, that it will link back to there. I found that a bit somehow too vague to be helpful for me on a concrete level, but I think that's how it would work. And then it says, what actions can you take every day or week to work on this goal? So he's written new designs, maintenance across different sales sites, keep on top of orders. And then it's got the space for time blocking. So it says the best way to make continual progress on your goals is to schedule uninterrupted time to work on them. And so you're supposed to pick some time in your schedule that you know you can set aside, which I think is really, really good, because, you know, if you just say like, right, I want to do this, and you then don't kind of take the next step of deciding where you can actually fit it in on a daily basis, then you won't get anywhere. So I think that this is really well laid out. And then it says desired goal completion date. So he's just written the 31st of January next year. And then on the other side, it has notes, which we've left blank, and vital to-dos. So he's written list new designs, send out orders on time, make stickers, list designs on Amazon, and then possibly bring in t-shirts. So I think that this is all useful, because these are things that like he's kind of known about, but you know, he's had in his head, but they haven't really got anywhere. And this is one of the main reasons why I wanted to try this planner, is because, like I said, if you've got your own business, it can be really difficult to like kind of, I mean, I'm saying just sort of from my experience with like James having his own business, like he's an artist, so he's like really good at, you know, thinking of new creative stuff, but then actually doing the like kind of tedious part of the business, like, you know, listing orders and all of that kind of stuff that's not fun and creative. It's more difficult to follow through. So the idea was that something like this would kind of help to sort of make sure that it gets done. So I think this is a really useful page. However, there was one thing that we discovered to our horror when we were doing this, because part of it he was writing and then part of it he dictated it to me and I wrote it. Okay, so are you ready? As you know, I mean, are you ready for this shocking revelation? As you know, I always use friction pens. Okay, so, and because I just can't stand the thought of writing with a pen that doesn't erase anymore. But watch, to our horror, what we discovered when you try to erase something. Okay, so let's say friction. Okay, oh, I don't want that. It erases the ink, like it erases the actual planner. You could like literally just sit and erase this entire planner. You would still have some sort of like messy lines, but like, do you see that? I've never ever had that problem with another planner. So I don't know what this is. I've heard, the only time that I've ever heard about friction pen causing a problem like this is with the personal planner, which I've never seen myself in person. Haha, sorry, no pun intended. But I've heard reviews that say that friction pens don't work on that planner. But other than that, like, I mean, like, look at this. That's gone. It's just a smudge now. So friction pen users, beware. You cannot use them on this planner if you want the actual printing to remain. So we were really disappointed about that, because James also only uses friction pens. So that's kind of a bummer. But again, like, that's sort of to do with the execution. I think that this layout, this setup is really a useful tool. And so I'm sort of trying to think of it now as just a tool rather than a planner, because as a planner, I have all of these, you know, requirements for like, you know, beautiful aesthetics and nice paper quality and laying flat and all of that stuff, which just doesn't work, and it will just disappoint you. But if you think of it as a useful tool and you don't mind so much about the aesthetics, then you're much happier. So we have a few more of these pages, and then we go on to the next section, which is another cardstock divider, and this says monthly and weekly planning. And the whole thing is this kind of like sort of color scheme of beige, orange, navy blue, and light blue. That's kind of the scheme, which again is not, like I said, I feel like the aesthetics of this planner don't really appeal to me, but that's, I guess, not the point of it. So it's got some quotes like this: good luck as a result of good planning. And then it has another introduction where it explains like kind of all about how to use this planner for monthly planning, weekly planning, and the difference between top-down planning and like kind of bottom-up planning, which is, so the idea of the top-down planner is that you start with your core values and your life vision, and then you move on to your goals to sort of fulfill those, and then you proceed to your to-dos based on that. And then that other planners, it says, are just to kind of a schedule and unprioritized to-dos. So this has just got things like choose which 2 events, if realized this month, will leave you feeling fulfilled. Review your goal planning pages and write down 1 to 5 goals to make progress this month. And then list your to-dos. And so it kind of helps you step by step. It shows you exactly how it thinks that you should use the planner. And it does that for the monthly planning and the weekly planning. So that can be, I think that's quite helpful. Then it has a 2016 calendar on one page with a Sunday start, which I personally find really annoying, but I know that that's quite common in a lot of American planners, so it's just following that that model. And then it's got 2017 and 2018 in smaller writing. Then it has a page which I think is really nice, a 2016 snapshot. So it says, use this bonus planning page to create a simple 12-month overview of what's ahead. So it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11, which is kind of an odd number, but I guess it was picked because of the layout, because it fills the page evenly. So from January to December. This is kind of how I use my vertical monthly view in my Hobonichi. Just, I think, for like a kind of overview of the year. And it reminds me of that. It's not exactly the same. It's, I guess, in a way, is more similar to the goals page in the Erin Condren, except that doesn't have any labels, so you don't have to use it for months. This one, obviously, you could use for other things as well. It's just got 12 spaces, so you could cover these with washi tape or something. But I think it's quite nice to have a sort of overview of like your main things that you want to do in January and your main things that you want to do for every month. I think that's quite helpful. And she puts in some little tips like review your goal planning pages and add your to-dos onto the monthly sections. You don't have to plan your entire year at once. Some people find it beneficial to plan ahead in 3-month increments. So it has these like kind of little directions and instructions, which I think can be useful if you sort of, want a bit of guidance on how to use it. And then it starts with a monthly overview, which again, I think it's a really nice feature that this starts with December 2015, although it's a 2016 planner, so it gives you an extra month. But unfortunately, because of the shipping delays, it didn't actually arrive until almost the end of December. But presumably for next year, that would be fixed. And I think it's a good feature that it gives you an extra month. So the nice thing about this, and let me go ahead to January because we filled that in. Okay, so for January 2016, on the left, you've got, again, some of these blue boxes that are kind of motivational. So it says, this month's success will be. So James has put in doing my taxes, listing stickers, and listing one of his designs on Amazon. Then it has, I will enjoy myself by. So he's put, it's all Star Wars related, watching Star Wars, various Star Wars things. I will improve fitness and focus on getting taxes done. So that's quite nice because it's sort of a way to sort of make you focus on exactly what you want to get done in a kind of positive way. And then another feature that I think is nice is that it's got these 5 sections for different goals. So it says goal, 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 and you can pick what you want. So I think the idea is that they're kind of like different aspects of your life. or different projects. So he's put in as one goal the vegan shop, one goal the Black Giraffe, which is his like kind of planner shop. So he has dashboards, and at the moment it's just dashboards, but he wants to do stickers as well on Etsy. And then goal for our flat, goal for health, and goal for fun. And he's put some to-dos down relating to each one of those. So I think the idea is that you copy these to-dos over from your monthly list, and then it's got quite a bit of space. So it has 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 goals. So you basically you have a sort of a goal for like every other day, but I think these are, you know, sort of like bigger goals for the month. So there's quite a lot of room there. And I think that it's really nice how it divides it, because it makes it very easy for you to section off the different areas of your life that you want to work on, and make sure that you are, you know, kind of covering yourself and setting goals for each of those and to-dos. And then it's got space for notes down at the bottom. And you can see here, this was an erasing disaster. That's what happens when you try to erase with the friction pen. And then it's got a space for a sketch here, which is James's favorite feature. And he has drawn this little sketch of Jar Jar Binks, who is his favorite Star Wars character. And then it's got another quote. So the quote of the month is, "I will never be an old man. To me, old age is always 15 years older than I am." Francis Bacon. I like that. So I think that this is a really useful page, and it's very well thought out, well structured. And it gives you kind of something to really work with practically that you can come back to as a reference and also bring forward into your weekly planning. Then it has a month on 2 pages, which starts on Monday. So that's kind of weird, because this yearly calendar started on Sundays, but this one starts on Mondays, which I like better, but it's odd. And the other really peculiar thing about this to me is that Saturday and Sunday are split. I've seen that on YouTube on a couple of other planners. I think maybe the Kate Spade inserts do that, but it's quite unusual, and it will be no surprise to you if you know me that I find that extremely irksome. I mean, I don't know. It's obviously somehow to do with the layout, but I just think, you know, no matter what, you need to have a separate box for Saturday and Sunday. Other than that, you get quite a lot of space. If we compare this to the month on 2 pages in the Hobonichi, in the Cousin, I'd say it's about the same. Maybe this is a little bit bigger. And while on that note, if we just go back a bit to look at the size of this is kind of, I'm not sure what the dimensions are of this, but it's a funny shape, like compared to the A5. It's a bit taller and just a little bit wider, so it's like almost A5 but not quite, which is another thing that I thought was a shame, because it won't fit in any A5 cover. Like, I was thinking, because I didn't really like this cover, I thought I could put it in the Filofax Flex, but it won't fit, it's too tall. So you really it doesn't fit any sort of like commercial planner shape that I'm aware of. Like, if you compare it to the Happy Planner, it's smaller. So in terms of portability, I'd say it's lighter than my Cousin, and I carry my Cousin around, so that means you could carry it around. It's not that heavy. It's a bit chunky, but it's okay. It's like a kind of big paperback book. You could definitely carry it around. But I mean, I don't think the cover is very durable. But then again, I feel like different people may feel otherwise, but I feel like this is something that I would leave at home, or if I worked somewhere, if I was like had a job where I was at work all the time, as opposed to, you know, like James is he works from home. You could just take it with you and leave it at work. Like, I don't know, it doesn't feel to me like a planner that I would be carrying around with me all the time. It feels, like I said, more like a workbook. By the way, if you can hear Piteous whining in the background, that's Panda, who's convinced that he's dying of hunger. Although, as always, when this happens, he's just had dinner like half an hour ago. So I'm sorry about that. I can't get up to do anything about it. So that's your monthly calendar, your month on 2 pages. And then you go into your weekly spreads. So this, by the way, has got the months integrated with the weeks, which is personally not my favorite. As you might know, I like to have the months all together at the beginning, as is done in the Hobonichi, but this is fine. It's not really a deal breaker for me. And this is a week. I'll just show you this week because we started to fill it in. So for the weekly layout, it's a Monday start, Monday to Sunday. And it starts with one of these blue boxes with the kind of motivational heading. So this week's success will be, and I will enjoy myself by. So I think that that's again a nice feature. If you're sort of trying to keep yourself motivated to achieve your goals, I think it's useful that it has that on every week. And then another nice thing that it does is it puts your goals at the top. And this is kind of at the heart of the philosophy behind this planner, right? Is that you start with your goals and then you move on to scheduling so that you don't sort of get bogged down in your sort of daily to-do list and forget about what you're trying to achieve. So it's got the same 5 goals, so you can transfer over your goals from the month and then you can put down your to-dos for the week. So it's basically a similar format to the monthly overview, except that you're now in your week, so you can be more detailed about each goal and like maybe transfer over some of the to-dos that you had on your monthly view and add some more so that you don't have to accomplish everything from your monthly view on your week, but you can add some smaller ones as they come up. Because I think the thing about this is that when you fill in your monthly view, ideally you'll have some like sort of big-ish goals, like what you want to achieve in that month, which might include specific things, but this is at least how I would approach it, is that you'd want to say like, I don't know, for me, it would be like, finish this much translation and like do this application, finish this talk. These are like the things that I want to have done for the month. And again, like this is what I use this vertical overview for. So like events and things that I have to accomplish. And then I also use I've started using the monthly view in here for that as well. So like for me, I think I feel like my Hobonichi like kind of does all of the things that this does, but in a way that is more sort of in line with my style of planning, because I like how it looks and I like how it feels and I like the paper and I love the design and everything about it aesthetically I really like, but it also kind of, I feel like it can be used for the things that you can use this for. The only thing is that with something like the Hobonichi, it gives you the space to do that, but it's not prescriptive. And so it doesn't help you, I guess. It's like, it just has some tick boxes and it's up to you to decide, what you want to use them for. So you can use them for your top 3 or you can use them for something else. Whereas in this, it says, this is your goal. What are you going to do to get it done? So it's kind of much more like to the point and prescriptive, I guess, which can be a good thing if you want something that's kind of, really going to focus on goals. So yeah, I feel like this is kind of this is an overview, and then here you can put in like kind of tiny little tasks that you need to do every day in the week to get some of those goals done. So I would only import a few of the goals for the month onto the week and say, this is what I'm going to do in this week to work towards those bigger monthly goals, if that makes sense. I'm sure that's not the only way you can do it, but that's just what seems logical to me. So you've got your 5 kind of spaces, what Rebecca calls silos, for your different areas of your life. And James has only filled in a goal for the vegan shop, and then he's filled in a goal for health by toothbrush. I guess that's how it seemed to us that the weekly view would work, is for the little things. And then at the bottom, it's got your schedule. So the schedule goes from 6 a.m. until 10 p.m., which is not bad, especially considering that you only have half the page to work with here. It's hour by hour. So comparing this to the Passion Planner, which I don't have, I've just watched reviews of it on YouTube, and that seems like the most similar comparable planner. That has got much more space for your schedule. It has half-hour increments, and I think it goes until 10:30 at night. But I don't think it has as much space as the top for your goals, or like kind of as broken up. but I could be wrong about that. That was just my impression from seeing reviews. So I think, I mean, the point of this is that you're supposed to be focusing on your goals and like maybe not quite as much on your schedule. So I think, again, for me, that this wouldn't work as my main planner, because I would want to have a more detailed schedule breakdown. But if you're using it really as a sort of tool to help you accomplish your goals, then I think that this is a good layout. And you can really use this just to mark specific appointments. Basically, she has the idea that you sort of set aside time blocks for goal work. So you'll say like, okay, Wednesday from, I don't know, 10, it's very, very upsetting for me to contemplate doing things earlier than 10, although it's a continual struggle to try to get up early. I haven't succeeded so far. Maybe the top-down planner would help. I don't know. Could put in all of my like kind of goals for how I want to become a morning person. It probably would be good for that. So like say from 10 till 3 I'm working on X, and then from 3 till 5 I'm working on Y. So I think I would use it more of in that way rather than as a schedule for all of my like kind of work related appointments. Just to kind of like give you an idea of what your day is going to look like in terms of your goals. And again, I think this works better if you are self-employed or work from home, so that you can block off time in that way. Although it could work as well in a kind of more like office-y type setting, depending on what your job is. So yeah, the only thing that bothers me about this is how it uses a 12-hour clock. So like I'm used to the 24-hour clock, so I would expect this to say, like 16 o'clock, and so that is kind of weird to me. But I think that's sort of, again, that's like a sort of American style, so it's fine. And then the last thing, and you already know what I'm going to say, shared weekend. That is a deal breaker for me. So I find that really, really annoying. And there are no times on the weekend. So like this idea that people don't do anything on the weekend and they don't need to have any space in their planner or times is just kind of vexing to me. But that's one of two ways to do it, so that you've got more space in the week. So that's what it's chosen. But I think that this sort of layout with the goals at the top is really effective if that's what you want to focus on. And so it continues like that with your monthly spread, your like kind of monthly goal setting, and then the monthly calendar, and then your weeks. So it goes on like that until the end of December 2016. And then at the end it says Happy New Year, which is nice. And then you get to the third section. So it's got a page of notes. I think it has a page of notes at the end of the first section as well. Yeah, so you get this page of notes here and then here. And then the third section has another cardstock divider. And this has got a whole bunch of like supplementary activities and tools. So again, there's an introduction, which is nice, on like kind of the power of pen and paper and why it's important to write things down. And then you've got 2 pages for a vision board, which I think is a really, really great tool. I'm not sure that I would have it in my planner like this. I mean, I would, I think, keep it separate, but I think it's nice that she's included it here. And then you have a few pages of mind maps, and she explains like kind of why mind maps are useful and sort of shows you a sample once so that you can see how to use it, which I think can also be good. I personally don't use mind maps, but I have a colleague who does and really likes them, and so I know that there are people who use them. And I'm not saying that it's because I've tried them and didn't like them that I don't use them. It's just that I've never used them. So I think that this could be a really good tool, and it gives you a few of those. Then it's got this section of meeting notes, and it has some like guidance on team meetings. This is funny to me. I think that this is one of those things where planners are kind of like textbooks in that you really get an idea of the personality of the person who made them. So this is clearly something that's important to Rebecca, who owns a company and like runs businesses. This is not something that I would ever use. I mean, she says you can use them whether you manage a team at work or your family at home. Team meetings can be of help. I just James and I would never have a meeting where we'd sit down and write meeting notes. Like, we just wouldn't do that. It has like an agenda and action items, and like that just seems really funny to me. And even at work, you know, my department, we have departmental meetings, but I wouldn't use this. But that's not to say that it's not useful. But she gives you 11 of these, and like I would personally think that it would be nice to have more mind maps, because I would think if you're using this over the course of a year that you might have more occasion to use mind maps rather than meetings. But again, it depends. It's all personal. So there might be somebody, I'm sure there's somebody who would say like, oh, this is great, I will use this every week, and would want to have more of them. And then it's got a bucket list. So this is just like a kind of blank list with 2 columns with tick boxes, which is nice because you can use that for, well, I mean, the bucket list, I guess, just things that you want to do eventually, but I think you could use this for other things as well, if you wanted to. And then it's got a gratitude log, which again is something that I, as you know, I keep separate from my planner, but it's got like tons of blank space. The first 2 pages are labeled gratitude log, and then it just continues with blank note pages that you could extend. So if you wanted to use this in that way, it's nice that it's got it there. And if you didn't, you could just cover that up and use it for something else. The gratitude log, as you can see, has got 2 columns. And then it just turns into blank note paper, and you get quite a lot of that. And then it also gives you some gridded paper, which I love. So I'm always a fan of that. It gives you quite a bit of that as well. And then some blank paper, which James likes because he likes to be able to draw sketches. And then it just has this page about like choose a sharing network, choose 10 people to share your goals, passions, and top-down planner progress with. And it's got some information about like the typefaces, and there's also a toolkit of free printables, which I haven't looked at because I can't do printables. It's one of my many deal breakers, which I'm going to talk about in a video about planner deal breakers. But they're there if you want them. And that's it. So yeah, in summary, I think that the top-down planner is a really, really great tool with some very useful features that you don't see very much in other planners. Like I said, I think just from seeing the reviews that the Passion Planner is the closest to this. But this one seems, I mean, I think that the focus on goals is very structured, and it's got some really useful pages that are perfect for sort of forcing you to think about your goals and how you'll achieve them in a very organized way. And I like that. So I think it has a lot of potential, and it could be really useful. Like I said, myself, I don't see it as as my main planner. I would use it more as just a tool, and that's how James is going to use it as well. He's back in a Filofax, by the way. I'm going to do a video about his planner setup in a while, because he's had some adventures trying out different planners as well. But so the idea is that he'll use this just kind of specifically for sort of working on goals, and use the Filofax as his everyday planner. But I feel like where it really falls down is in the execution, and I don't want to be mean. I feel like this sounds really nasty, but particularly since I got this for free, I don't want to complain at all. But I feel like if I had actually paid for it, I would have paid about $65, because it costs $50, and then with shipping it would have run to about $65. That was international shipping for me, but it wouldn't be a huge amount less than that. I think even if it was within the US, I would have felt disappointed, just because I don't feel like for that price, to me, sort of the Hobonichi for me does everything that this does, although it's not explicitly labeled and set out as such, but I feel like I can use it in the same way, and it's cheaper, even though Hobonichis are considered to be expensive. And it also is just beautiful and elegant, and I love the way it looks and the way it feels. So I feel like for the price, I would want the aesthetic aspect to kind of be more in line with, the paper quality and the whole, you know, friction erasing thing is just really bizarre. And like also the cover and the laying flat and all of that stuff, I think that's its major problem. I think that the idea behind it and the way that it's set up has some really useful things, and James felt like that as well. And his main problem is, I mean, like a lot of us, I think, is disorganization and that kind of lack of, you know, like it can be difficult to get focused on like exactly how to turn the goals into practical steps. And he felt like it was really useful for that. And sort of we both did when we had the session. So I think that it has some great features and it can be a really useful tool. But if you're interested in one, just keep in mind that you're buying it for the system rather than, you know, for what it looks like and what it, I guess, the, you know, sort of the aesthetic aspects of it. So, that's my impression on the top-down planner. Let me know if you have any questions about it, and I'll link the other reviews down below. So as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will be back soon with another video. Bye.